Okay, we are live, Dylan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the podcast. With me is, my favorite film reviewer on YouTube. Well, the top three. It's you, Good Bad Flicks, and We Watched
Ah,
a
I love
Movie.
them. Oh, I
They're
love all
so
three of
cool.
them.
Yeah. And yeah, well, a few weeks ago, we recorded a It Dreamcast for It Chapter 2. But me being the genius that I am, I didn't know how to record sound correctly. So we are now doing this live. Dylan's camera looks amazing. Mine, since it's right from my laptop, looks really crappy, which is kind of good because I didn't shave today. So I got the stubble right over here. And you can see like my bald head is starting to get the I hate that so much. I wish I had your hair.
Trust me, it's so thick sometimes it just is like
I,
it can
I
become
wish
a
I had anyone's hair, man. Wait till you hit your 30s and, God forbid you'll get the receding hairline. It's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
oh yeah, good old cowlicks, in the midday.
So we are talking about a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is the slasher film. Now, when I was in film school, we watched Psycho on a big, gigantic movie screen, and my professor talked about how he believes, like what a lot of others, that Psycho began the slasher film genre. It was the spark that began everything. And then there's, of course, the debate over Black Christmas and Halloween over which is the proper beginning of the slasher genre. Personally, I go towards Halloween because what we're going to be talking about in this episode all fits in with the original Halloween movie. What are your thoughts? Where do you feel it begins?
I would actually argue that I think it begins with Black Christmas, but that's just because how I interpret Black Christmas to be. Um, but I definitely think when you look at the end of the day, when it comes to slasher films, I think at the end of the day, Halloween and Black Christmas are probably the two most influential slasher films for the genre in different ways. I think Halloween has done more for the slasher genre than Black Christmas has done. I just think Black Christmas is, like it was the mustard seed that grew
Yeah.
Halloween, and Halloween was like, here's everything else, which got me Friday the 13th, which is my beloved franchise.
Yeah. Are you excited
So
about the the Blu-ray box set coming out on the 6th?
yes, I am.
I have the same. I have 1 to 4 on Blu-ray, and then around Christmas time, I was at my local Walmart and I saw the Friday the 13th DVD box set for under $20. The first 8 films. It
Yeah.
was one of those things
Yep,
when
I
I
have
saw
that
it, my
actually.
hand immediately grabbed it. Then I
Yep, you like
purchased.
you're
Yeah, yeah. Then I purchased the double set of Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X.
mm-hmm.
So before we get into this, how would you rank the big three of the slasher genre? Meaning, Nightmare, Halloween, Friday, and I guess we can throw Scream into that category.
Yeah. Personal taste. Personal taste alone, I would say Friday 13th is my favorite. I've seen, even though in terms of quality, they're probably not the sharpest, but it's my favorite in terms of enjoyment.
The
It's what got
camera
me.
cracked there for a little bit. Can you repeat
Oh,
that?
yes, yes. Um, so I would say, in terms of personal enjoyment, Friday 13th is my favorite. Maybe not so
Okay.
much in quality. I think you would go to Scream for that. But I would say Friday 13th is number one, then Halloween, then Scream, and then Nightmare on Elm
Wow,
Street.
Nightmare coming in
Yeah,
at the very
I would
end.
I would have that at the end. I think Nightmare is got 3 good entries, and that's 3 or
Which
maybe 4.
ones?
The first one, obviously.
Okay.
I love Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That's probably my second favorite one.
Solid opening day with my grandmother in the theater.
Oh snap! And then Freddy's, Dream.
Dream Warriors?
Dream Warriors. Those are the only 3 that matter.
We almost got a superhero version of Dream Warriors till Disney bought 20th Century Fox. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Wow. For me, it's Halloween is first. Friday is second for a lot of reasons. One, much like Jason Voorhees, I am from New Jersey, and Crystal Lake is in New Jersey. Then it would go Nightmare and Scream at the bottom because the sequels not as great.
True. I'm not the biggest fan of Scream 3 is the worst.
Yes, what a hands down. Because
Yes.
Williamson didn't write it, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm 95% sure he didn't write the script. Well, I'll put it in the notes later.
Yeah. But 3 is just messy. It's trying to do too much, and the twist is not nearly as, compelling or interesting. I like Scream 4 a lot, so I do think Scream 4 is my second favorite of the sequels.
Did you watch the TV show at all?
I did. Man, I had a love-hate relationship with that TV series. There were things about it. It was like I was always watching it, and I feel like I'll still always be watching it if they keep doing more, which I think now they're going to reboot it or something.
They're doing a 3rd season, but a different story?
Yeah, but I
think they want to go the American Horror Story route with it.
Yeah, we'll see. But the show was a love-hate relationship. It's like they would have, I would say, out of their 13 episode seasons, they would have 8 really strong episodes. And then they would have these other episodes where they bring in these stupid subplots that literally just halt the whole main storyline. And I think if they had just taken out the rest of those episodes, we would have a nice, lean Scream show. The characters were fine. The actors they range from fair to bad, but like it's a TV series based off of Scream. I don't expect too much, but I can't deny it. There were some scary bits. There were some fun bits. So it was a love-hate relationship when it came to the TV series.
I watched the first 4 or 3 episodes, so I can't make my judgment on it yet. But this is something I think you would appreciate. I was playing the Friday the 13th game last night. I don't play it online. I play with the bots, and they just released Roy. So now each Jason has different things. Like 7 is stronger, but he's not as fast. But my problem with Roy, now when you start off and you get to play as Jason, you start in this cabin with Jason's mom's head and you hear her talking to you, telling you kill them. For some reason, Roy starts the same way. Now he runs really fast. And yes, last night, I wish I would have hit the share button. I saw someone hide in their tent. And I was able to walk up to them, pull them out, and do the sleeping bag kill. Kane Hodder, did all the motion caption for the game.
Oh, I know. I've played the game. The game is fun. I don't have the game, but my friends have the game. And it's so much fun. It is.
Did you get to play as Jason or as a counselor?
Mostly counselor. I played as Jason once, and
it's hard.
It's so hard. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to play again, so I just went back to playing as a counselor just because I had gotten the hang of it. But I think I remember playing as part 4 Jason.
Oh, okay.
Um, and because I don't know if they had like all the Jasons unlocked or
You
something
have
like
to
that.
unlock them by leveling up. And
Yeah.
Jason X, the space station, and Uber Jason is coming soon.
Oh God, Jason X. That movie has a part of my heart that I will never
I
give away.
love that movie. People make fun of it and hate it, but I love every bit of that movie.
I am right there with you. It is probably the ultimate guilty pleasure B movie. Like it's so bad it's good type of film to the point like I almost don't feel like it's a bad film
I don't. I do not feel that at all.
because it is like it is one of those movies where like someone sat down and they wrote this idea of Jason going to space and they were so ballsy and so just out there for it that I cannot help but love them so much for it. I mean, the dialogue,
Yeah.
the kills,
Yep.
like one of my favorite kills, like two of my favorite kills are in that
Uh,
movie. Of the smashing of the
yeah.
head, the sleeping bags or they bring back the sleeping bags in
Yep.
it. There's that line like we have pot, we want to it's so like we just had a Friday 13 marathon recently in October and we
Ooh.
watched Jason X and I was the only one having a great time. Everyone else was like, Dylan, what is this? Why are we watching this? This is so bad. I'm
No,
like,
it's not.
it's so much fun. Look, I will admit, the first time I watched it, I don't like to talk about that viewing because I honestly didn't like it either. But I have come to appreciate it over time for the B movie glory that film is. It is just like people watch The Room 50,000 times because of how much they love it. I watched Jason X 50,000 times because of how much I love it. It is my Tommy Wiseau's The Room. I adore it.
I even like Jason Goes to Hell.
I like parts of it. Some parts of it, it's like the goo and all that stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, what is happening right here? But in some parts, like I like the ending sequences. I like the sequence in the diner when
Yeah.
that stuff. But that one's not very high on my personal ranking of the Friday the 13th films. My favorite is 6. I love
6
Jason
was great.
Lives.
Yeah.
Jason Lives is the epitome. It's made by Friday the 13th fans. He had just came off of part 5, which in my opinion is possibly the weakest installment. I don't like 5.
But still has its moments.
They all have their moments. They all have their moments. The only thing is I don't like the ending to 5. The ending to 5 I despise. When you find out that it's not Jason and that
Yeah.
it's I'm not a fan of that. So that really just killed the whole movie for me. But then part 6 comes along and they resurrect Jason in this very over the top sequence with lightning and all that stuff. And then the rest of the movie is just it is pure Friday 13. You're at Camp Crystal Lake.
Mhm.
You got the kids. I love the part where Jason walks into the camp yard and all the kids are sleeping, but he doesn't kill any of the kids.
Yep.
I have that franchise has a massive part of me.
With me too, but I think quality wise, I think the Halloween movies.
Yes, they're more consistent.
Yeah.
In terms of tone and honesty, quality. They got a few you're like about, but what horror franchise doesn't? But they're more consistent, and that's why I think I'm really excited for this new one coming out because
yes.
which they just released a new photo from, and Jamie Lee looks amazing in it.
And this is like I know Halloween H2O was 20 years later. Is this gonna be Halloween 4? Like
right?
When H2O came out, I honestly thought the whole thing it would be funny if it took place underwater.
Of course, H2O.
But now with that, before we get into our main topic, Halloween Resurrection, I haven't seen it all in a long time, but I think the problem with that one is It came out, the story and the concept was good, wrong timing, and everything else, because that was before reality TV took over the world and before the internet was really a big thing.
Truly, yeah, I would say some of that. Um, I mean, the kills are weak and fine,
Yeah.
but like the biggest issue with that movie is how cheap and how lazy it
Yes.
is with its story. Um,
The
and which is
opening
why
was great.
the opening is totally fine. It's totally fine. Um, man, 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 like however, when I was watching that one, and then Jamie just goes down for the kill, I'm like, oh, she's gonna come back. Something's gonna happen, you know. Nope,
And
nope.
then we get
That's it.
Busta Rhymes saving the day.
Oh, Busta, poor kid.
Now, also now on the 6th, the Friday the 13th box set comes out, but another movie comes out that kind of revitalized the slasher genre in a lot of ways, and that is the fourth Hatchet movie. Victor Crowley is coming out on the 6th.
Yes, I actually have. I got a screener link sent to me of that the other day, and I still have not watched it yet. But I'm probably gonna watch that tomorrow night, and I'm
Is
so
it playing in your theater
It's
or?
not.
No.
Sometimes I'll get the studios will send me like screener links to the movie. It's kind of like you go on Vimeo
Yeah.
or something like that, and you punch in the code, and you can watch it that way, as a way to hopefully get me to review it.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah. So I have a screener of that. I really want to watch. I really want to watch Victor Crowley. I really want to watch it. I think I'm gonna
I'm
love it.
foaming at the mouth now. If I had the choice of my TV of my laptop to watch it, I'm gonna say no. I can't wait to watch it on my 4K 50-inch TV to see every bit of gore. And by the way, you look great in 4K.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, now we've talked about the genre films. Now we're going to talk about something that I am in the midst of writing a slasher movie, and it made me think about what makes a good slasher movie. Now, there's all the obvious things, boobs are always fun, but there's a deeper thing to it that makes the slasher genre special. Now, I've got my list of three. Now, we're obviously going to go off on tangents here and get
Mhm.
into like other stuff. So, we're going to name the stuff we like about the slasher movie. Then at the end, we're going to name three slasher movies we wish would have got a sequel or a squeakquel, as I like to call it. Okay, so on your list, what number one makes a good to great slasher movie?
Well, first of all, the killer himself. Like you got to have
Yes.
a killer with a visual appeal to him. You know, we've had so many serial killers. Most of the time, they all want the same vendetta. You know, but visually, what do you have with your killer that's going to make him stick out from the rest? You can look at Freddy has his claws. You
Yes.
know, Michael Meyer has his kitchen knife. Jason has his machete and his hockey mask. They're all distinct people in distinct locations. So I would say, like that is my number one. Like you have to have a killer, and he has to look different. He can have the same end goal. Like you're stepping on my turf. You're
Hmm.
dead. Your family. You're dead. That's the motivation doesn't really truly matter to me as long as he looks intimidating and that visually he is terrifying. So that would say is my number one.
That was actually my number two. So I'm gonna pick. I put
Mhm.
an iconic bad guy having a great mask or deformed face helps.
Yes, yes. Some
Because with
sort
that,
of.
we get into the burning with Proxy, I believe was his name, and that, being a burn victim. There's obviously Freddy. Now, a quick thing. As a kid and teenager, I loved Freddy, but when I became an uncle, I was like, man, Freddy killed little kids. But then I'm someone who worked in youth ministry at my church for years, and I'm like, Freddy killed teenagers. Which I
Yep.
think you now, as a theater manager, are very happy about, and someone in your 20s, happy about the killing teenagers bit.
Oh, you know it absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
My
yeah.
number one is this: must take place in a small town slash a town with a dirty secret.
I would. That location was my number two.
Yeah.
So we've got it flipped. But yeah.
Let's Like, could you see now? I've always lived in pretty big cities. Like, I'm from New Jersey. I lived in Brooklyn for a while, spent 20 years in LA. So, there's something about small towns that I love small town life. And when you look at all the great slashers, they were in a small town that, again, probably had a dirty secret. Haddonfield, Illinois, which is based on Haddonfield, New Jersey. The Myers
Mhm.
house. Um, Springwood, which for some reason, and the first one was in Los Angeles, then became Ohio. And then somehow in Freddy versus Jason, they were able to drive from Ohio to New Jersey, but that's neither here nor there. Again, there's something about a small town because you think of, community, Main Street, USA, friendly, and then there's a killer on the loose in this place, and it throws the whole thing off track. With Halloween, most people now, yes, it is about, Michael Myers killing people, but the deeper thing to it is this thing called white flight. White flight was this thing where basically white people would, when they would get enough money, if they lived in a bad neighborhood with too much people with a different skin tone than them, they would think, wow, this place is getting bad. Let's leave to suburbia. Now, all races do that, but during the time of Halloween, which, our country still got issues now, but then it was bigger. People thought if we move to this beautiful community, we won't have to worry about violence or anything like that. But then Michael Myers is there killing everyone. Now, with you, what small town? Now, you grew up in a small town, correct? Was
Very,
there a
very small.
dirty secret to your town or that one house you were afraid to pass by?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's always there's. I grew up in a very small town. In fact, it would take me 30 minutes, like drive. It would take me 30 minutes to go to high school and 30 minutes back, just
Wow.
driving. And and it wasn't traffic. It was just
Distance.
distance from where I lived and where my high school was. So I lived out I live in North Carolina, and I grew up in the Piedmont area, which is where you would find a lot of trees and a lot of flat land. So it just everything was endless. It was like just miles and miles and miles. Um, and so a lot of people's like we would have like there would be a lot of people. There might be a lot of people, but people live so far apart from other people. Um, like I lived in a subdivision, but sometimes you wouldn't even know that
Okay.
because the houses were just so far apart. And that in itself was creepy in itself. To know that you're isolated in a town, but also not isolated. Like if I had to call the cops, for something, it was going to take the cops just as long to get here
Wow.
as it would for whatever intruder is here, you know? So like, um, so in my opinion, it doesn't matter if a cell phone doesn't have any signal. By the time that I call the cops and even get them here, it's gonna be too late, too little, too late. If I'm thinking of the context of the sequence and how all is gonna go down. But yeah, there's houses that are run down. Honestly, it's tons and tons of old slave homes are
Ooh.
just buried out and around in the place. So you don't ever go play around those because that that is welcoming some old demons to probably lurk in those areas.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but so yeah, I'm very much in a sort of old small country hick town here in North Carolina. I mean, it's North Carolina. I mean, hence the accent a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Now, do you think a slasher movie could work in a big city? I mean, to me, Candyman isn't really a slasher movie.
I have a hard time distinguishing that as I mean, technically, by definition, you could call it a slasher
Because
film.
there's a body count.
Yeah, there's a body count. But for me, that feels more paranormal.
Yeah, yeah. Now, again, there are some slashers who have paranormal things to them, but to me, who I love, Candyman. Tony Todd is amazing, but to
Mm-hmm.
me, he was always more of a Bloody Mary kind of figure.
You're
But
right.
to the question, do you think a slasher movie could work in a New York or someplace like that?
Um,
And when I mean New York, I don't mean New York State because there's Amityville, places like that. I mean like in Manhattan or Brooklyn. Could you see a slasher movie working?
to be honest, I would watch that, but I don't know if I would be terrified watching it because I didn't grow up in a big city, so I'm not going to be able to, in a sense, get absorbed into that. You know what I mean? That's going to
Yeah.
seem so foreign to me. Um, but the idea, like we all, even if we live in a big city, we know the areas outside our big cities are surrounded by smaller areas.
Yeah.
And so that in itself is like no man's land for a lot of people. Like, don't travel there.
Hmm.
So but mixed feelings.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it won't work
Yeah.
because there's no distance. It's like
No.
I have neighbors all around me, across the street, upstairs. There's there's so much congestion in big cities that again, I just can't see a slasher working in a place like that.
Yeah.
And one thing, I'm okay, do your next one, then I'll change my number two when you say your number two.
Shoot. I know because like my number two was location.
Okay,
Um,
but go on with that.
yes.
Like, you mean
So what
like
I mean by location, I feel like your location. So you've got the number one down. You've got your iconic look. You have your killer. You have his motive, which it could be whatever it be. Like I think one of the best motives for a serial killer is the Saw franchise. You know how he's trying to teach a lesson and stuff like that. That's always super compelling. But motive isn't really the main focus for me. Location is number two. How how is this killer going to realm and where is he attacking? And I think that he needs barriers. I think he needs his area and he doesn't go out of that area. If he in the imagination we could assume that he does, but in his sort of franchise universe he does not.
yeah.
So whether he is at a lake or he's in a town or he preys only on a certain type of people, in the sense that could be his location. Um, but yeah, I think location is number two for me because this is your setting, this is your home. Like this is
Yeah.
this is your home for your story, your home for your movie. This is where you're gonna have people residing into it. Where would these characters that you have conjured up, where would they go? Um, and so yeah, that's why. So yeah, for me, you have your killer, you have your location, and then you have my number three.
Okay, now what location? Now I love when, like you were saying, the people are isolated in one location, because another thing I love what slasher movies is when it all takes place in one night. Like the Scream
Mhm.
movies, that was over multiple days. But there's just something like one of my movies I'm gonna mention are in, films I wish would have got sequels, all takes place in a movie theater. And
I
what
think.
that, cuts into, I think you know where I'm going with that one.
Yep.
What I love about that with locations is if you can take something familiar to people and turn it around to be scary, that works really well. Like with Psycho, everyone talks about the shower scene, but what it really is being in a hotel room. There's there's a bed, a TV, and a chair. It's like home, but it's not really home. Jaws scared people of the water, so
Mhm.
you can go to a summer camp or any kind of camp and not think Jason's gonna be there waiting for you,
Exactly. And I live for that stuff.
or Angela from the Sleepaway Camp movies.
Yeah. It's like I'm would be more I love it more like yes, so I can watch a Friday 13th film and not really be scared anymore these days, but be entertained by it. But whenever I go into those areas, those films come along with me. And I think that that's one of the reasons why location is so important. It's like what makes the Blair Witch, even though it's not a slasher film, so scary because you feel like you're almost at times watching a slash movie because you feel like there's some sort of being or something in those woods and
Yes.
it's out to get those people. And that's why those woods, you go into a woods and if you're camping and you're the only one, like I mean, and I'm talking about deep into the woods, not like a campsite, like so you're
Yeah.
thinking like Friday 13th, like if you're deep into the woods, I cannot think of like freaking I cannot think of anything but the Blair Witch Project, and that is because of its
Are
location.
you a camper? Like you go camping occasionally?
I will go camping. I used to go camping a lot because I'm actually an Eagle Scout. So
Oh,
like I would go camping all the time as a kid. And this was also when I was starting to really get into horror films. So sometimes those
not a
horror
good
movies,
mix.
not a good mix. So sometimes those horror movies would come with me and boys will be boys. And sometimes they would try to, play tricks with me and, you know, write little take sticks and make little arrows and stuff like
That's
that.
awesome. I'm
Um,
sorry, but that is awesome.
it was fun. It was really fun because I was new to horror, so I was still experimenting, and everything was so fresh and new. That like anything would scare me. So I'd watch and I'm also that kind of guy who kind of sets himself up for it. Like if I'm going to go on a plane, of course the night before I'm gonna watch either Snakes on a Plane or Final Destination One. Like
Mhm.
it,
Nope, nope, nope,
like
nope.
I'm that guy. But of course, I'm also that guy who gets on that plane, and the next thing you know, is your friends are teasing you and they're talking about like, oh my god, so I saw like this bolt was kind of like coming out.
There's
And
something on the wing.
there's yeah. Also, I can't get on a plane and not think of the movie Bridesmaids whenever I get on it because there's
Oh
that scene
yeah,
in
yeah.
Bridesmaids.
I had a dream last night.
There's a colonial woman on the wing of the plane or something they're not telling us.
Um, Again, we keep mentioning the Friday movies. I've been a camp counselor, and man, it's hard to walk around a summer camp at night when there's no kids and not think, Jason is out there somewhere. Now, Before we get into our number three, I have a funny summer camp story. So all the kids are asleep, and the counselors, they're all hanging out behind the lunch area, where everyone would eat, and there's garbage cans there. Now everyone there was pretty much city folk, but I know enough about nature, and they were waiting for the bears to come eat out of the garbage. And then I noticed that's not a mama bear or a papa bear, that's a baby bear. And I immediately
Mm.
knew if we stand too close to these things, Mama Bear and Papa Bear are going to come get us. And at that point, you can't outrun the bear. You just have to outrun all the other people.
Exactly. Exactly. Someone's got to be bait at that point. Someone's going down, and I am not going down alone.
I'm going to push anyone I can. My number two, you talked about it a little, but an iconic weapon.
Ooh, weapon. Weapon is important.
Now, Michael and Jason, they were opportunity guys. Whatever popped up on the scene, they would use. But I think the most iconic weapon has to be the Terra Claw.
Mm.
I mean, Jason's mask, you can't watch a hockey game and not think about him. Now you can't watch, the OG Star Trek and not think about Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But there's just always been something about the Terra Claw that is just super duper awesome. In fact, with my movie that I'm working on now, coming up with the weapon was a huge, huge thing to me, because when that weapon can stand out, it makes the killer themselves stand out even more.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we could go into mask a little bit with this, like you were saying, like, Ghostface mask. That's an iconic thing, even though I usually don't like talking bad about movies, but there was this thing I saw on YouTube, great concept, where all the great slashers come together for something. And for some reason, Ghostface was in that group. And I'm like, well, Ghostface wasn't a guy, it was a bunch of people.
Yeah, Ghostface is a weird one, because at the end of the day, it's just someone else putting on the same costume.
Yeah.
It's
There was
not
never
one
Ghostface.
There's never truly one singular Ghostface. And so it's just some deranged kid who is upset with somebody and wants them dead. So he starts killing off everyone that person knows, and just to toy with them, So it's just kind of like, yeah, I get it. I really like the movies, don't get me wrong, but like,
Oh yeah.
it's so hard to like,
group him amongst he doesn't belong on the Mount Rushmore.
He wouldn't be on my Mount Rushmore.
Not mine at all. All right, what is your number three? Because then I have a question before we get into the movies.
Okay, my number three is scares. And the reason why I mentioned earlier how I don't think it has to be the most frightening film, but it needs to have some sort of some type of scares, whether it's just gory kills or whether it's all atmosphere, whether it's like a Halloween thing, which mainly focuses on suspension and dread, and less about
big body count movies, the Halloween movies.
Yeah. And then, like what is it? A movie that I don't want to talk. I won't say what it is because it's in one of my three films that never got a sequel. But one of these films, like, they're known for like it's killer and it's kills, and I'm so like I feel like once you have that, once you have the location, you have the killers. How does this killer kill? How does he kill? And how do the audience members get scared from these kills? Um, sometimes it can be gory. It can like the Hatchet films are gory, and
Yes.
they're almost like self-aware gory. They're like self-aware gory, where it's almost like it's as over the top and gory and unbelievably gory, but that's the fun and greatness about it. That's its style, that's its stigma. But there's certain different types of slasher films. Like there's this foreign slash film that I adore called Them. Um,
Don't know it.
yeah, it's a French film. A lot of some people I've seen comments where some people feel like The Strangers was highly based off of that. But
Okay.
it's basically these killers who live out in the woods who are terrorizing these people, and the reason why they're terrorizing them is just because they want to. That's it. They don't have no motive. They're just deranged kids, and they do it by playing with toys. So
Ooh.
like they'll have like this like spinning toy, like you hear this like churning of it, and you find out this churning noise. You find out that churning noise is like a little like spin top that he just churns and makes like the bicycle like card on a bicycle wheel and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they lure people in through these toys and stuff like
Oh,
that. And I
yeah.
thought that was really, really clever. So like,
I've got to check this out.
yeah, but yeah, you need scares. Scares are very important. Whether you choose to be an atmospheric scare or a gory scare, it doesn't have to be the scariest thing, but it needs to be consistent. It needs to be consistent. If you're gonna make a gory film, every gore needs to one up the gore that came before it.
Yeah.
Um, it needs to evolve and grow. But if you're gonna have a suspenseful film with maybe 3 deaths maximum in your film, then you need to make those 3 deaths feel you distinct and separated. So I would say, one of course is the killer and his appeal, his look. 2 is location. 3 is how they die. It's how the kills. It's how you scare your audience. And they have to coexist. It has to be a marriage of the
Yes.
3. I've seen so many bad slasher films where they get this killer and he looks like he's coming, like he would
Mhm.
fit great in a Friday the 13th universe, and they play him up for seriousness, and it just doesn't blend. I'm like, dude, I want to see you slicing some heads and
Yep.
chopping. And then you get some people who are so over the top, and I'm just like, whoa, chill, kid. You calm it down. Like, you're scary just as in itself. Like, there's something unholy about you. Let me just look at you and be scared that way. By you jumping on people and ripping heads off just seems childish and seems over the top. So it's understanding it's like understanding your killer and what you have, and putting him in a location and a surrounding and scaring him that seems real. So if you have those 3, you have a happy marriage, in my idea, in terms of a slasher film.
And I will wholeheartedly agree. My number 3, it kind of ties into yours, but the one satisfying kill. Because
Mm.
every slasher movie, great ones, have the jerk and jerkette character. And when you see them, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see you die. Like, now I love the Friday the 13th remake. I think next to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, it's the only 2 that I really, really like. Now, I
Yeah.
forget the rich guy's name in Friday the 13th remake, but man, seeing him die was like,
Mhm.
oh, yes, thank you, Lord.
Yep. Yep. There's always that. I remember when I went and saw Your Next in theaters, and I was waiting for for that blender scene in that movie,
Yep.
basically. And when that scene happens, oh sweet baby Jesus, it's like heaven. You need, in a sense, yeah, you need that character, that that terrible dick of a character who just who's gotta have it coming. You gotta have that memorable kill. You can't just like have that one kill, just or else that people are gonna walk out of it and then be like, they're not gonna be satisfied.
But sometimes you could pull the trick of having the one a-hole character be the one that survives, just to give the audience a big fu.
That has happened, and I have been royally upset.
Remember, there was a Doctor Who Christmas special when he was on the Titanic in space, and the one, character that nobody liked ended up being the one that survived. That was just like, oh man, I love that you did that to me. Now, two questions, then we'll get into the movies. Well, this is one's more of a statement. When it comes to your film's rating system, now, some supernatural horror is when I see a good supernatural horror, that becomes my favorite. When I see a good slasher, it becomes my favorite. Supernatural horror doesn't need to be rated R. PG-13 to me for supernatural, because they're not body count movies. It's more heavily on atmosphere and the scares. But a slasher movie absolutely needs to be a hard R.
Yes.
Better if it's unrated. While when the hard R in theaters, then the Blu-ray unrated, or preferably just unrated right to VOD, because you can't at all do PG-13 horror. Again, remember in film school, one class that I did not like at all, we all got a horror movie we had to, like, in a group, come up with. And there was this one group of people going, well, we want this to be a tween slasher movie. It's like, wait, what? No. You cannot do a PG-13. That is the death of a slasher movie. The second you decide it's going to be PG-13, it won't work.
Sounds like an executive producer talking, being like, haha, we're going to bring in some money because some kids going to finally get No. I don't. Look, I hate, like, I agree. Supernatural, PG-13.
Yes.
Just fine. It's fine. I think PG-13 gets a bad rap. I'll admit, there was a time you could probably find them on my own channel when I would review a movie and I'd be like, I can't believe this is going to be PG-13. But I've grown, I've evolved, and I realized, you know what? Maybe there's so many great horror films that are in the supernatural realm that are PG-13.
Yes.
And they work. It works for them. It works. It doesn't need to be rated R. But I can list off countless, including one of the films that I think should be a sequel that's on my list is actually rated PG-13, and it's my only problem with the movie.
Ooh.
It's because it's PG-13, but I really want a sequel to it. But we'll talk about that when that comes. But I agree. I think slasher is a genre that needs to be rated R.
And zombie movies I'll put into that list too.
Exactly. I don't like it needs to be rated R. Like it's the dead, the prosthetics, the gore.
Yeah.
They eat humans. I'm sorry. Don't cut away from that. That is like horror 101. Like, you have so many things that you can grotesque people just in that premise alone, and you're going to make it PG-13 and cut away from that? No.
Yeah, you're neutering the movie by doing it in PG-13. Now, here's one more question. Do you like your slasher being a supernatural slasher, or just a super crazy nutso person?
Probably the second one. I would say. they can be like, if they're gonna be supernatural, I still want them to be a little bit nuts.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
because it almost makes me feel better about myself because I can distinguish them from, because if they're just um yeah, so I would definitely say the second one. It's supernatural. It almost feels like it's not even them doing it. It's some sort of higher entity or lower entity that's doing all the work. It's
Well, when I
saying,
mean supernatural, like a crazy person returning from the dead kind of a thing, or being trapped, like with a Victor Crowley type of thing, a repeater,
oh, okay,
not a
okay,
possession slasher.
yeah. Um, then honestly, I'd probably switch my answer to that. Yes. Yeah, I something more on the lines of like Victor Crowley and
Part
Jason Voorhees.
7, Jason.
Yeah. I mean, like part 6 Jason is when he becomes like
That's
a
what I meant,
zombie.
part 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
part 6
Miss
Jason is when
Seven's my favorite, so I always jump to that one.
That's the telekinetic one, right?
Yeah, yeah, Carrie
Yeah.
versus Jason.
Yeah. That one's fun. That one
Kane
is
Harder's first one.
yeah. Yep, that one's fun, and for that alone, my only problem with that is that's the one where the NPA got involved,
Yeah,
and they were like censoring the nudity and censoring a lot of the kills. So I can't help but watch that with that sort of cloud over the
yeah.
movie, and it's kind of ruined the film. But there's some really cool kinetic stuff going on in that film. And it's a fun installment. But yeah, I honestly I would actually go with the first answer. I think it's yeah, like you want to when you're having characters, you want your characters, your human characters to feel alive. Maybe stereotypical, that's fine for a slasher film, um, playing the stereotypes, but you want them to feel alive and real. You don't want the killer to feel on the same level as your human, as your like your good people,
Yeah.
your teenagers. So that's why I would say the more supernatural, and it gives them an element, something to fear because it's not something that they've been accustomed to witnessing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would go with that.
Okay, and right now we are going to go into our list of slashers we wish would have got a sequel. Or I'll throw another. Well, number one is a sequel slash remake, which I know is a dirty word, but can be good at times. So, what is your number one?
My number one, and honestly, I'd actually tried to focus more on recent ones instead of just old timey classic ones because there's plenty of those. But I actually really hate that we never got a sequel to the remake of My Bloody Valentine.
Ooh,
I
yes.
love that movie with every fiber
Yeah.
of my body. Jamie King, everything. There's your killer. He looks great. He
Mhm.
kills in the mines. He kills in this one little town. And the kills were fun. The nudity was great. The
A
characters
town with
were
a
fun.
secret. So, yeah, yeah.
It was so much fun. And the movie ends, of course, with the guy picking up, putting on the mask, and walking out. La da 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 da. But and I was just like, oh my god, why did we not get a sequel? And then apparently I read on Bloody Disgusting that they wanted to make a sequel to this, they just couldn't get it off ground and it
Oh,
fell through. And I was just like, oh my god, because that was my first 3D movie.
same with me. So, well, modern 3D movie.
Yeah, modern 3D movie. So yeah, that was, but I remember going to the theater, getting the
Mhm.
glasses, putting them
Mhm.
on, watching it. It's so like a lot of the 3D effects are so dated today, but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it makes it even more fun sometimes to watch it because every shot is in the camera at some
Mhm.
point, and it's just the best. So I hate that never got off the ground and became a new because that is I think one of the most underrated horror remakes to come out.
Oh, you know what?
I
I
love that
so
one.
much so I completely forgot to mention it, even though I owned the 2D version on Blu-ray.
Mm.
But yeah, again, And with that one, the original's good and all, but if I could only pick one of them to only watch out of those, I wouldn't be upset with the sequel, with the remake.
Yep.
Because it is a strong entry in the slasher genre. It fit everything we just talked about, an iconic killer. And then it did one thing: the guy we wanted to see die didn't die.
Yep.
The sheriff.
I know, he ends up walking out at the end, and you're
I
like,
wanted him to die so bad.
I know, but also the movie gives you a death for him, and it's a great death.
Yeah.
But it, like most horror films, there's that 30-second reveal where the killer's still alive.
Yep.
And he comes walking out, and it's such a great moment. It's so well done.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking, the 3D really helps this movie, and I love that it wasn't the super Avatar 3D. In fact, the glasses they gave at the theater, I wish would have been the old paper 3D glasses and not the super fancy theater ones.
Yeah, I remember getting those. I have the movie on DVD, and I have those paper glasses.
Oh, okay.
So the red and blues and stuff like that.
While we're on 3D horror movies, I remember I was living in Brooklyn with my mom, dad, sisters. It was really hot one night, so we decided to go to the movies. So me and my whole family, except my grandma, went to go see Freddy's Dead in theaters with my young sister Amanda, and we got those paper glasses. And man, putting them on during that dream sequence, I think the whole movie was supposed to be in 3D, just they couldn't afford to do it all in 3D, so they just made the ending. But man, that was a fun experience. Okay, my number one. Now, this is one sequel, but I'll be honest. As a filmmaker, I would love to remake this thing. Dr. Giggles.
I've actually not seen this, but I've heard a lot about it.
Oh man, it is so good, Dylan. It's hard to find because the Blu-ray of it that comes with Otis, a double pack, is like $50. The DVD itself is like $30, but you can buy it on YouTube for like $7. Now, if you don't know the story of Dr. Giggles, takes place in a small town. There was this doctor who was a good doctor. He had a son who was a genius. And the doctor, started doing these weird experiments on the town folk to try to replace his wife's heart. His wife dies. In order to help his son escape from the townspeople, he sews his son into his wife.
Ooh.
The son, you don't get to see that. The son goes to a mental institution, and the opening of it is him doing a surgery on one of the guards while all the patients that he helped let escape are watching. And then we just get these medical themed kills that are amazing. In fact, the guy who wrote Dr. Giggles went on to create Dexter.
Oh.
But man, I would love a chance to remake this thing. It could have been a franchise, but man, it is due for a remake or a Scream Factory special edition Blu-ray would be absolutely amazing. In fact, if you really want to see it, I'll give you my YouTube password.
Oh, yeah.
And you could go into my purchased videos and watch it. Just don't judge me for some of the stuff I have favorited.
Dude, don't worry about that.
I'm kidding.
If I showed my YouTube history, you'd be like, Dylan.
You know what? If you were to look through it, you would mainly see wrestling talk videos and vlog videos.
Oh man, what would my look like? Mine, I get on the weird side of YouTube a lot of times.
You like creepy pastas?
I do love creepy
Yeah.
pastas.
You ever
I
listen to Undercooked Analysis?
I don't think I've heard that one.
There's this group, they basically take bad creepy pastas or good ones, read them. The bad ones are fun because they make fun of them. Then they have a thing called Under Midnight Marinara where they do like a radio show of creepy pastas. The best
Hmm.
one they did was making fun of Jeff the Killer.
Hmm.
I'll send you the link to it. It is hilarious.
Oh man.
Do you want to talk about more of your weird YouTube stuff or get to your number two?
We should probably get to my number two.
I want to end a little after one.
Okay. Okay.
Your number two.
Well, my number two, I'm going to go with my PG-13 one. And this one is recent, but I loved it so much. And that is The Final Girls. This is a slasher film in which a bunch of people get sucked into the movie and they're reliving a slasher movie basically on a consistent loop. And the killer is actually basically killing them. This movie is super meta and so much fun, but it honestly has some of the most heart I've seen in a horror film in a really long time. Like if that Betty Davis eyes scene where like I get choked up and I've cried to that sequence. I think it's so well done. My only gripe with the movie is that it's PG-13. It's a clear ploy to get more people to see it, which makes no sense because it's such an indie film and this didn't even get a wide release. This was like a small limited film. So why they went PG-13, I'll never fully understand. But I would love, like the movie ends with the sequence to Cruel Summers where they get stuck in the sequel. And there's so much. I just want more and more sequels, and they sort of toy with, the stereotypes of horror movie sequels. And then you have the trilogy, and how the trilogy is always just everything that you expect about 1 and 2 just rehashed into 3. Like I loved it. And Taissa Farmiga, like all the cast and everything was really great. The aesthetically visual, like that movie is so popping and with color. And it's
the flashback scene was amazing.
Amazing. I love The Final Girls, and I would love to see a sequel to it. They tease it. Granted, they tease it because it works for that kind of movie. Always a slasher film.
It's part of the joke.
Yeah, it's part of the joke. A slasher film always has to leave with the idea of being more to come. But they do it such a good job that I was like, I would pay so much money to watch that.
Yeah, I was struggling for a number 3. I'm gonna claim that as my number 3, and to go along with the Betty Davis eye scene when they're having that big, heartfelt, emotional speech. Mm-hmm. I watched that movie about 2 months after my dad died. So watching it, it was like, it's just a stupid slasher movie. Why are you crying, Aaron?
Exactly. You don't you don't like one of the few emotions that I expect to not feel when I'm watching a slasher movie is like heartfelt.
Yeah.
Like I'm there for the kills, the killer, and the location. I'm not there to actually feel for these characters that I know I'm here to just watch murder. So the fact that I'm actually feeling sadness for this character who's sacrificing herself for her daughter because all she wanted to be was oh my god.
Did you listen to the commentary track of the movie yet?
I have not. I need to do it because I bet they talk about some really brilliant stuff.
The writers, the producers were telling the writers, can't you make it that, the daughter saves the mom, and when she gets out of the movie, the mom is a famous actress now and still alive? That would have been so lame.
Yeah, it kind of would have defeated the purpose of like what it was going for, and like its stereotypes on like the final girl, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah.
But I would, and from if I had to make a list of the past 10 years, the best slasher movies, that would be in my top 5.
Yeah, it would definitely be in mine. Like, oh my god, I just was thoroughly like, it was a movie that like I like, this looks fun. This looks really fun.
Yeah.
But then I heard it was PG-13, and I was like, I don't know. And while the PG-13 is by far the weakest element to the film, it is like I still gave it like I gave it like 4.5 out of 5. Like
I remember that. Yeah.
because I was like, this movie is infectiously fun, you guys, and it gets the slasher genre, but it plays it like a love letter and not like an insult, even though it is PG-13.
Which, yeah, I wish if they would have at least. What if they would have done this? Have the non-slasher movie part have the cursing and stuff, but then when they get into the slasher world, then it could have become PG-13. You could have had the character complaining about it. The only thing that hurt this movie was it was PG-13. Then when he would curse, you would have it, cut out or something that you wouldn't hear the cursing.
Yeah.
And, like the kills, when they would happen, something would happen. He would see, you can't see the kill. That's the one thing that hurts this movie.
Yep.
My number 2 is Midnight Movie.
I have Midnight Movie. It's somewhere up there. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's if you don't know Midnight Movie, it begins with a film director that's gone insane in the insane asylum and gets to watch his masterpiece of a film. While the movie's playing, crazy evil stuff happens. Basically, the entire insane asylum is killed. He goes missing. The doctor who was away on vacation comes to the asylum, sees everyone's dead. He forms a relationship. Him and a cop talk. They don't show them forming a relationship. And the movie goes missing till it is found and played at this small town theater. A group of kids come to watch it, and then lo and behold, the killer from the movie comes out, sucks people into the movie. And what's great about the movie they're watching, I can't remember the name of it right now. It is this really bad wannabe from Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff. And again, the kills it goes again what we said. It's a supernatural killer that has a unique look. It's at the atmosphere. It's set in one location that we all know and love, a small town theater. Again, I dig AMC. They pay my friends' bills. But there's something about, we have this local theater in Teaneck. It has 4 screens, but it's a super small theater. Dirt cheap tickets. Like matinees are $5.
Ooh.
After that, it's like $7. But it just feels small. It has the popcorn that smells great. The chairs are kind of uncomfortable. One of the smaller, there's one screening room that my bedroom is bigger than. The screening room where I watched Rogue One, there's like a small tear in the screen that's really distracting. But there's something about that as movie fans we love. And Midnight Movie captures that. The characters are just really likable. Again, there's the one character you can't wait to see die. And through the movie, you get the evolution of movies, of horror movies, while at the end, there is a torture sequence in it. So yeah, that is what, in fact, I liked it so much, I emailed the filmmaker a little, like sometime last year, and we are trying to get him on the show, but all of my medical stuff, Larry's wife's medical stuff prevented us from doing it. But Man, is Midnight Movie an awesome, awesome slasher movie that
Yeah.
definitely deserves a sequel. Or,
Yes.
again, squeakquel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I remember getting that one at Blockbuster. One of the great
That's how
benefits.
I saw it too.
Yep, that's one of the great benefits of Blockbuster. You would go in and you look at these covers and you'd be like, "Midnight Movie? What is this? A killer? Like, I gotta take this home."
The
Um,
way I saw it was I came home from a hockey game with my church. I was bored and couldn't fall asleep, and I stumbled upon it on cable. Now, this is back when Blockbuster had their wannabe Netflix,
mm-hmm,
which I liked more because I could take my rentals from the mail and swap them in the store for a movie.
mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to find the DVD at my local Blockbuster. Came home and man, did I enjoy it! In fact, if you're gonna buy it, if you're listening to this, I recommend buying the DVD over the Blu-ray because there are some special features on the DVD that are not on the Blu-ray, like a commentary track and a mini documentary about their experience at the Chicago Horror Film Festival.
Ooh,
So you liked it, is what you were saying?
yeah, no, yeah. I've seen that one, and I actually am quite a fan. I was looking for it up there 'cause I'm like, I need to pull that one down, and I'm overdue on a rewatch for that one.
Yeah. Well, we're nearing the very end of this episode. So how do you see the future of the slasher movie going? Because we're there are good ones, but we're in a dry spell. I mean, there's of course the Hatchet movies, which I think modern slasher wise are the best.
Yes, I would
We
agree
got
with you on that.
Leslie Vernon, which was the meta slasher, which again, I love that movie. Can't wait to get the Scream Factory Blu-ray. But then what, I can't really name any other slasher movie in the past 10 years, that were amazing and sure there have been good ones, but
Yeah, I
there
would.
hasn't been that standard, where it's like, boom, this is where the bar's set, try to top it. And
I totally agree. I, for a moment, thought that we were going to be in a resurgence of slasher films when early reviews were coming out for Your Next. I was like, this is going to be it. This is going to bring slasher movies back. And guess what? No one went and saw it when it came out in theaters, which sucked because that movie was awesome.
yes, it was.
And same with Final Girls. The Hatchet films, they do well because they're made for nothing and they have a fan base. But
That's another one we should have added to our list is low budget.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, like that's just the thing. But like, yeah. So I'm hoping. Look, I think it would be kind of bittersweet, kind of cool if this Halloween film that's coming out is the resurgence. It certainly brought
Yeah.
slasher films to the market back in its heyday. How awesome would it be if it's the same way again? If this film is good, we'll get more slasher films. Maybe I'll stop being in this abusive relationship that I am with this Friday the 13th film, this on-off Friday the 13th film. Maybe they'll finally give it to me. We can't. I beg of you, we cannot have 12 Friday 13th films.
And not get a 13th.
Not get a 13th. This is that 13th film. Why are they doing this to me? It hurts my emotions.
The one thing that I was listening to an interview with Jason Blum, he was talking about Halloween, but he also mentioned how he tried to get the rights to Friday the 13th. He was saying how he would do it for under 10 million, which, if they got a hold of Friday the 13th, man, they would do amazing things with it.
They would. And Friday the 13th is like the Jason Blum policy of how he makes movies is one I think is brilliant.
Yes.
And you know, the freaking Jigsaw movie that just came out was made for $10 million. So the fact that they're talking 10 million for Friday 13th, I'm just like, I'm all for it. And like, I'm worried because they keep overthinking it.
Hold on. I'm busy, Ma. Sorry about that. Yes, I still live at home, everybody watching. I am the typical, stereotypical nerd.
But yeah, just so Friday 13th, you know, I would be so game. I keep feeling like we're on the verge of resurgence for slasher films. I think with Strangers 2 coming out earlier this year, which is more in the veins of Home Invasion, but it is a killer. And therefore, I think, you know, toying around with that aspect of it and then going into, you know, Halloween, I think Strangers 2 will give Halloween a kick. And hopefully this new Halloween film is going to be like what will bring the resurgence of slasher films back. I think they'll not be the same. I don't know if they won't be the sort of Hatchet style over the top, you know, gory kind. But like, hey, I will take it. I'd love seeing slasher films on the big screen. So I'm very overdue on that. But yeah, hopefully Halloween's gonna bring out some more slasher films because. Don't get me wrong, I love supernatural films. I love my ghosts and possessions, but we have been in its era for far too long. It is time for another subgenre of horror to come out and take some spotlight. Like everything has to be Insidious and Conjuring level. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited about the Conjuring universe. That's going to be fun and exciting. But like, it is time for another subgenre to come out and play.
Very much. Yeah. Now and again, as two guys who are trying to make slasher movies, we're hoping for a resurgence. And I am terrified. I'm terrified of what might happen with slasher movies. Because you can go onto Amazon Prime and there is the majority. Now, anyone could technically put a movie on Amazon Prime. And there is a lot of not very good slasher movies on there. You see an awesome poster, you click onto it, and you're like, man, when I make my YouTube videos, my sound and lighting are better than this. I won't say it on air, but the second we hit stop broadcasting, I'm going to tell you one you gotta watch. But again, I'm hoping for a resurgence because we need it. Victor Crowling is going to be good, but that's more for us.
Exactly.
The hardcore slasher fans. I think everything in horror in general is riding on this Halloween 40 years later. It's maybe the most important horror movie to come out in a long time. And if we're, as horror fans, are lazy about it, or if we're douchebags about it and pirate it, it will destroy any hope we have on seeing new voices in horror. And actor-wise, if you look through actors' histories, a lot of them have started in horror movies.
Yep, it is a great, amazing entryway into filmmaking and a great way to showcase your craft as a filmmaker, to build suspense and tension, and I love slasher films. Yes, I do agree that sometimes my biggest fear with the resurgence is slasher films are easy to make, and therefore you're gonna get a bucket load of really bad
what
slasher
happened
films.
with Scream during the silver age of slashers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I enjoy a lot of those silver age movies. Oh, the golden age being the 70s and 80s. The 90s, there was the silver age. Like, again, Scream was probably the standard bearer. Then, the first I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend were good.
I enjoyed those a lot.
Valentine is a guilty pleasure for me.
I have that right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, then in the early 90s, there's this great one called Lover's Lane, which more people need to check out. It's on Amazon Prime. But even if we get a bunch of bad ones, it's still the slasher genre, being there. I don't think we'll ever see big, wide releases of slashers unless, again, Halloween 40 years later does 500 million at the box
It
office.
needs, yeah, like it. I don't know if this Halloween film will pull in It numbers, like Stephen King's It numbers, but it needs to be a big hit.
Well, I
And
know I'm not sure the budget, but I'm going to guess it's under 20 million.
I'm honestly, since it is coming through Jason Blum, I would say they're making it for 10 million.
And I'm thinking Jamie Lee Curtis definitely took a pay cut to be in it because her pay alone would have been the budget for the movie, half the
Yes,
budget.
I mean, granted, I would take a pay cut even if I was Jamie Lee Curtis. I would do the Jason Blum
Model.
model because I know if I do a good movie, if we really make this movie that everyone keeps saying is really awesome, and we make this movie and we show up and we deliver a really good movie, people are going to come out and see it. And I'm going to take 10% of it and I'm going to make more than what I would have made off of a salary right now. And I'm already famous, so I already have money. So I don't need a pay right now just to survive. So, I because what is it? Ethan Hawke made so much money off that first Purge movie. He would have made maybe $4 or $5 million to make that movie, and he ended up making, I think, like, because that movie made like 90 million or something like that, ridiculous amount. And I think he ended up walking away with like $10 million for just making a movie that took no time at all to film, and like didn't really require too much of him as an actor. So hence, what does he do? He goes and makes Sinister.
Yeah. Well, everyone, this is all the time we have for this week. We are recording this on Thursday, February 1st. You will more than likely be watching this on Saturday, so we have time to promote it. Dylan, thank you as always for coming on. You are easily my favorite guest, and I feel the third host of the show.
Yay!
All right, everyone, have an amazing weekend. Go Eagles.
Yes.